My name is Dror Ben-Ami. I'm formerly with the, or still am connected actually to the University of Technology, Sydney, and a co-founder of the center there, although Dan has taken it forward for the last 4 years, wonderfully so, and I'm trying now to, as compassionate conservation is evolving internationally, to also get a group going here, and several of the group members are here in the audience. We're not a center or an institute, we're just a collection of academics that share similar values and are trying to promote this idea. And over here I am collaborating, I'm with Tel Aviv University, with the Zoological Garden at the moment. That's my position. So, and how does this work with it? It's, okay. So we try to define compassionate conservation Middle East as a regional endeavor. When I say it in my mind, I mean Jordan, I mean the Palestine, the Palestinian West Bank in particular, Egypt, if we can get cooperation, maybe even Ethiopia, also thinking Turkey. So we really want to promote a regional conservation projects. Birds, for instance, will migrate over that entire territory. Wolves will go into Jordan. So there's reason to think that we're all in this region and share the same nature and the functioning of nature. Kind of simplify why we do compassionate conservation without a lot of theory. And I base it, my take on it is it's an issue of values. So, as has been said a couple of times now by David Zaltz, but then also Daniel Ramp, essentially, I think conservation is the product of social values. These have evolved for the last 140 years or so, from academics, poets, had ideas about nature that then percolated through into academic thinking. So we as conservation practitioners actually we have the privilege, really, to act upon social values. We must always remember that. We act upon social values. At the same time, so I've just gone the first 2 points, I'm down now to the third point. I think that we can't ignore that animal protection is also a value that's on the rise. Animal protection is growing internationally, and it's changing the way we view and the way we relate to animals. We become, as we kind of consider animal protection, we become vegetarian, vegan, but we also start to empathize with animals, with wildlife, and that then leads to consequences, to actions that impact on conservation. And to ignore that, to ignore those consequences will then hurt conservation actions. And I'll stress that even further with some statistics. So it's interesting to note that Israel, and I'm talking now about Israel, I don't know the statistics in countries around us, but in Israel at least, there's the highest percentage of vegetarians in the Western world, 13%. This is taken from Wikipedia earlier in the year. 13% of Israelis are vegetarian, and that's a very high statistic, only behind India, in which there's a religious aspect as well to being vegetarian. And a lot of this vegetarianism is due to animal protection reasons. A lot of vegans, within that number of vegetarians, there are many, many, many vegans. I don't know if it's 5, 6, or 7% vegans. And this is tremendous. We have IDF, our army has vegan shoes. It's gone a long way, it's evolved. And so it's going to impact what we do and how we act in relation to nature as well. At the same time, Israel is a very dense country, humanly dense country with humans. So if we look at the UK, let's say Canada has 3 humans per square kilometer, UK has 255, Israel already has 387 humans per square kilometer. That's more than India, by the way. Australia, where we come and we have the center, I mean, there are hardly any humans per square kilometer. We have a lot of problems. So here we have 387, that's huge. I mean, when I think of Israel, I think of one big city with some periphery, and it's all urban. And that relates a lot to Amir's talk. But might get to that in the discussion section later. At the same time, we have relatively high biodiversity of mammals, reptiles, certainly birds. And this is a conflict soup. It's a soup that we cannot avoid the conflict that we have, given the human density, the high biodiversity, the small scale of the country, the values that are percolating through our society, that we want to protect animals. Animal protection is animal rights and animal welfare. Animal welfare is a study of the state of the animal. It's empirical. Animal rights is not a study. It's just animal has a right to live, and a lot of people feel that way. So we need to, we're better off accounting for that when we practice conservation and pretending that it doesn't exist. So that's where I see that Israel is certainly a good place to work on compassionate conservation. It's to make conservation better, because if conservation doesn't account for human wants and needs as it relates to animals, then some of the solutions are going to be very short-lived. Short-term gains, but long-term or medium-term losses. And sometimes the compromise that accounts for a broad set of values will give us better conservation solutions in the long term. I mean, that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to say about compassionate conservation. So I'll just run through the other slides. I mean, this is the reason. To give one example, and Amir Balaban brought it up very nicely with, actually didn't quite bring it up, but it's relevant, is that feral dogs are a big issue in Israel, and their impact on perhaps on gazelles and other wildlife. And the Minister for the Environment came out with a policy that no feral dogs are going to be killed, because I know this from internal knowledge, because of certainly because of public pressure, but also because of his own set of personal beliefs, and that policy still impacts what can be done in the outskirts of Jerusalem. I mean, when Amir said dogs impact gazelles and reduction of dogs certainly causes gazelle numbers to go up, it seems. It's not because dogs are immediately killed. They're not allowed to be killed. The dogs are caught, and this is, Amir, correct me, this is what I understood. The dogs are captured and then taken away, and then if they're adopted, they're adopted. If not, and usually they're not, then they are killed or euthanized. But this is an important point. This is an important point. So certainly public desires have gone in the way of what we can do in terms of conservation. So there are already real impacts, and compassionate conservation seeks for ways to find the middle ground, the middle road. And the way we want to do that is to develop conservation management solutions where needed. Every situation is different, and sometimes there are no solutions. So we're not saying that compassionate conservation always works, but compassionate conservation probably should be more of a methodology, a way of approaching problems, a way of approaching problem solving, so that we can encompass. I got 1 more minute. Wow, okay.
You wanted?
Yes, I wanted. So we want to promote it, of course, as a regional practice, explore it in terms of theory. I mean, it's about philosophy, it's what we want nature to be. It also has to do with economics, it has to do with demography and cultural mindsets, and certainly to educate. I think I'm going to end here, and I'd like to say then just two more things, or a couple more things. One is that since for the last year or so, I've lectured about compassionate conservation, spoken to conservation officers, and I must say that I think that the values that are percolating, the animal protection values that are percolating through society, and particularly in Israeli society, are already percolating into our conservation spheres here. And we saw with the jackals and the foxes, and some of the research is being shown here and yet to be shown. Compassionate conservation as a practice has already started here. It's already being done intuitively without us having to come and necessarily give it a name. We certainly want to formalize a process, a methodology, but it's not to say that it's not being done. So it's being done in management, it's also being done in research, and we want to certainly promote that and expand upon it. And I'll leave it there, and we can discuss things further in the public session.